famous goddess of fertility in Egyptian mythology. She was granddaughter of Ra, wife of Osiris and mother of Horus. Known for her sorcery and healing abilities, she was fiercely protective of her family and well regarded for her acts of kindness. Although threatening her loved ones was met with, let's just say, less than pleasant consequences. Thanks to her power and wits, she both saved her husband's body, and trust me, it had gone through a lot, and also had the luxury of hanging out with a bunch of deadly scorpions. Hello, and welcome to Pantheon Mythology. In today's video, we'll be exploring the background and the most iconic tales of the beautiful Egyptian goddess Isis. Just a reminder that we post content on a weekly basis, so if mythology is your thing, then please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Isis was one of 5 children to be born from the relationship between deity of the earth, Geb, and Nut, goddess of the sky. She had a younger sister named Nephthys, and 3 older brothers who were Set, Horus, the elder, not to be confused with her future son, and Osiris, who was, surprise surprise, also her husband. Mythology, eh? Home of inter-family relations. She would go on to have a child with her husband/brother because, of course she would, and he just so happened to be dead at the time because, well, why would he be alive, right? And also, the two of them begun their relationship in the womb, so were born as husband and wife. Yeah, why the hell not? They're gods, who are we to judge? But more on that shortly. She also raised Anubis, the bastard child of Osiris, and Nephthys, also siblings, as if he was her own son, after his mother abandoned him. What a kind soul. An immensely powerful sorceress known for her wondrous healing spells, Isis, just like all our lovely wives and girlfriends, could be both cruel and kind, fierce and caring. Despite her reputation for healing, her sorrow could lead to the death of others, and she did not hesitate to blackmail her grandfather Ra to ensure her son Horus's right to the throne. When Horus competed with his uncle Set, she resorted to cheating to secure a win for her son, but then again, on a different occasion, out of family duty, she freed a captured Set from imprisonment, thus, like the Godfather, demonstrating her commitment to family. The murder of Osiris and Isis's quest to recover his body is perhaps one of the most well-preserved stories in Egyptian mythology. We begin during a time of peace and prosperity, when Osiris ruled Egypt and potentially all of Earth, bringing agriculture and civilization to the people before going on a grand adventure to spread culture throughout the region, from India to Ethiopia, leaving Isis in charge of the kingdom. Under Thoth's guidance, she proved to be an effective queen. Set, though, was slightly jealous of his brother's success and plotted to kill him upon his return from travels. He hosted a party in Osiris's honour, tricked him into lying in a coffin, sealed it with molten lead, and threw it into the River Nile. And this is why my #1 rule in life is never to lie in an empty coffin. Isis learned of her fella's potential death while she was in a distant town and mourned his disappearance by cutting off a lock of her hair, followed by a wardrobe change to something more suitable for a wife in mourning. She then set out to find her husband's body, and eventually heard from children playing nearby that they had seen a coffin-like object floating north on the Nile. It was actually during this quest that Isis found out that her sister Nephthys had an affair with Osiris and bore his child, which she then abandoned. To protect the baby, Isis searched for him and discovered he was being raised by wild dogs. She took him in and named him Anubis. Upon completing this quest, Isis learned that her husband's body was found on the shores of Byblos, where a large tamarisk tree had grown around his new home until the coffin had become completely contained within, almost as if they were a single entity. The tree, with its strong trunk and beautiful blooms, gained widespread recognition, so much so that King Malkander and Queen Athenais decided it would make a magnificent pillar for their palace and had part of it cut down, without realizing that the section for the pillar contained the body of Osiris. Isis, clearly taking too long to prepare, most likely due to overpacking, arrived after the loss of her husband and was overwhelmed with sadness, but in this horrific moment was noticed by two of Queen Athenais' servants, and they engaged in conversation with her, captivated by her aura and enchanted by her scent. After their gossiping with Isis, the maidens returned to the palace and were asked about the heavenly fragrance that lingered, and they told Queen Athenais about their encounter with Isis. The queen, curious, decided to meet Isis and they quickly became friends. And the queen asked Isis to be the nurse for her youngest child. When she learned that the child was ill, she offered to cure him, but with the stipulation of working in private to keep her true identity secret. And also because her remedy was to burn the child in a fire. It's okay though. It was a holy fire, which makes it alright, clearly. Now, there are variations on how the real identity of Isis was revealed. The queen either accidentally walked in on Isis working her magic, or intentionally hid herself in the goddess's chambers to discover her methods. No matter the version though, upon being discovered, Isis revealed herself to be a goddess. Ta-da! Due to this revelation, Isis either demanded the pillar containing her husband's corpse, or was offered it as a gift depending on the version of the tale you read. In both cases, Isis gained access to the pillar and recovered Osiris's body, marching it back to Egypt, hiding it from Set in the Delta's swampy region. Set learned of Osiris's return and discovered the body's location from Nephthys, the big mouth. Just to make sure his bro would stay dead, he dismembered the body into pieces and scattered them across the lands, but clearly underestimated the sister's devotion to Osiris, as she was able to retrieve the body parts with the help of Nephthys. Well, except for his penis, which was consumed by a fish in the Nile. Maybe it was a blowfish. Worry not, my friends, because Isis replaced Osiris's member with a more impressive waxen copy before reviving him. Now, there are multiple stories on just how she became pregnant. Isis is widely claimed to be a virgin goddess, and there's no actual resources suggesting that they got jiggy. Plus, how would this even work with a fake dong? So we'll just go with a version that makes most sense, which is Isis transforming herself into a kite. That's the bird, not the thing you run around with as a child, flying around him and drawing the seed of Osiris from his body into her own and becoming pregnant. In different versions of the myth, it is said that the god Ra helped the couple conceive a child, whereas others describe a magical spell that Isis used to conceive the child with the assistance of Nephthys. Sadly for Osiris, even though he was now alive again, he was incomplete and unable to rule as he previously did, leading to his withdrawal from the surface and instead heading downstairs to become Lord and Judge of the dead. In more positive news, Isis was now with child, but fearing what Set would do should he learn of the pregnancy, hid herself in the marshes of the Nile River Delta and gave birth to Horus, raising him secretly to prevent Seth from finding him and harming him. Horus would grow to become a mighty warrior and challenge his uncle, but that's a tale for another day. We're here for Isis, after all. But before we finish though, there's another story within this story that happened during the period between conception and birth. During her initial game of hide and seek with Set, she failed miserably and was imprisoned by him in a spinning mill, although fortunately he didn't yet know she had a bun cooking in the oven. Fellow deity Thoth, realizing that Isis was in danger if Set discovered her pregnancy, came to her aid and freed her from the mill, advising her to hide in the marshes with the protection of 7 scorpions named Tephen, Masetetef, Petet, Tietet, Matet, Mesetet, and Bethen, who pledged to keep her unborn son safe. Not my ideal choice of an entourage, but still, I'm not an Egyptian goddess, unfortunately. The group with Isis disguised as an elderly woman, travelled forward cautiously yet speedily, always staying ahead of Set when one day a wealthy woman saw them approaching her home and promptly shut the doors, denying them any aid. How rude, thought Isis, but she carried on without a second thought. Her scorpions had other ideas in mind though, as they were clearly the grudge-holding type and plotted to make sure the woman would be punished by combining their venom into head of security Tefen, who snuck into the house and poisoned the woman's child. In the meantime, old lady Isis continued on where a poor fisher girl welcomed her into her home and offered her food and shelter. The toxic poison was, by now, causing the child severe pain, and his distressed mother went to town in search of help with her suffering child, but no one could assist her. Luckily, Isis heard the child's cries and, overcome with compassion, agreed to help. She called out each of the scorpions and ordered the poison to leave the child's body. The wealthy woman was filled with regret when she realized she had ignored the goddess while the poor girl had welcomed her into her home. To make up for the mistake, she donated all her possessions to the poor fisher girl, bringing happiness to the goddess. Makes you all warm and fuzzy on the inside. While many other Egyptian gods fell out of worship or were replaced, Isis continued to be revered well into the Greek and Roman eras. During this time, the dominant belief in Greco-Roman culture was that Isis was the creator of the world and that all other gods were simply different names for her. The cult of Isis still persists today, and the goddess has become a central figure in modern paganism. What are your thoughts on Isis then, and where does she rank for you amongst fellow iconic goddesses from across mythologies? Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new in these parts. Also, why not check out our clothing brand, Pantheon Apparel, and ascend your wardrobe to godhood? You'll find designs inspired by mythologies from across the world, including Egyptian and, of course, Isis. We're rated excellent on Trustpilot and ship worldwide. We'll leave a link in the description. Click on the video on the left here to watch something that YouTube has chosen for you, and on the right here is our binge playlist if you want to go on a journey across the pantheons. But most important of all, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.